Okay. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you there. I got my brand new Pixel Buds Pro in. Hey, what's up? I'm Mike, and these are the new Pixel Buds Pro. I've tested them pretty extensively with a workout, some casual listening, playing the drum set while listening, joining meetings, listening to podcasts, and of course, just jamming out while doing household chores. And there's a lot to like about these. And I think they might be the most improved earbud lineup out there, but not everything is perfect. And we're gonna dive into that throughout this video. But I know I'm gonna try to answer as many questions as you have in here. I'm not gonna go through all the specs, but I wanna talk about the features about these, the design, what I like, what I don't like, an in-depth sound quality analysis, and I am very critical of sound, so there's a lot to talk about there, as well as a microphone test and things like that. But before we get any further in this video, I do plan to make a comparison between these and another pair of earbuds. So I want you to please leave a comment below and let me know what I should compare these to. Like, are you guys interested in these versus the AirPods Pro, these versus the Galaxy Buds Pro, something else? Just leave a comment so I know. And while you're down there, if you want to click that subscribe button, it'd mean a lot to me. Now, getting into these, I want to start off with probably my favorite thing about these being the features. Google adds a lot of very googly features to these, and of course with this pair right here, they have a lot of their own custom stuff to enable that, from custom chips to custom drivers to custom silicone for how they fit, and it's also that they can achieve what they believe to be the best pro earbuds. So starting off, my favorite feature that I think gets overlooked by a lot of people is actually multi-point connection. I can connect these to my laptop, even if it's a MacBook, and to my phone and seamlessly switch between them without ever going into any settings at all. That is a huge win for me, so I don't need two different pairs of earbuds, or I don't have to constantly switch and mess with settings. I love that feature. Additionally, Google, of course, is going to give you their Google Assistant. That's going to be baked really deep into these, and as you might expect, it works really well. You can say, hey, Google, and ask anything about your phone, or do things, answer text messages, or ask about the weather. You guys get the point of what that does. And if you don't want to enable the voice recognition, you could also just do the tap and hold, and it still works really well. The battery life on these is another big highlight with the features. 11 hours in the earbuds, 31 hours when you include the case. That is basically industry leading when you're talking about the top brands out there. I'm talking Samsung and Sony and things like that. But there's a catch. 11 hours is advertised, but if you're going to use the active noise cancellation, which, let's be real, you're going to use the active noise cancellation, you're getting 7 hours. But the good news there is that's still almost double what the AirPods have. AirPods are 4.5, so technically double would be 9, but still, 7 hours is really, really good here. But if you tap and hold for a second on the earbud and let go without saying anything, you don't actually activate the assistant, but rather you have it read your notifications to you. So I think that's another really cool feature. If you're wondering, like, oh, I thought I had a text a couple minutes ago, tap and hold that. You can hear what that was again. It'll read through your notifications. And of course, last but not least, we've got Find My Earbuds, among many others I'll talk about throughout the rest of this video. But looking at the design, the case is using that same Pixel design. I think it's a little bit fatter. It's like a little bit wider. I can't really tell for sure. But the earbuds are definitely different. These are a lot chunkier. Kind of gives me like Jabra 85T vibes, where it's just kind of a beefy earbud that doesn't have any like real defining orientation features. So one thing I noticed with these is when you put them in your ear, it's really easy to put them at like the wrong angle because they're just kind of like a general oval. And unless you're just referencing that little ear tip, there's not a whole lot that you can orient these off of, and so it's really easy to have it slightly at the wrong angle, which ruins your seal, which ruins your active noise cancellation and your sound. So they definitely take some getting used to getting them in exactly right. I think getting rid of that little wingtip we saw in the old Pixel Buds is a good idea. A lot of people didn't really like that. It didn't fit perfectly for a lot of people, and if anything, was maybe a little bit painful. These also have proximity sensors for autoplay and auto pause, but I think this is smart. They are on the bottom of the earbud, so when you set them on the table, it's never going to be pointed at the table, so it's going to know if it's in your ear or on a table. It's not going to go down and just start playing like some other ones do. These are IPX4 water resistant, which is good enough, but not really industry leading. Good enough for working out, but you're not going to want to drop these anywhere. And of course, the case has wireless charging, a button on the back for forced pairing, USB Type-C on the bottom, you know, all the usual stuff, and a really satisfying clicky case. I always love the Pixel cases. As far as fit and comfort go, I talked about that a little bit already. This goes really deep into your ear, but it does have a pressure relief with some active pressure sensors inside. So that'll relieve the kind of stuffy feeling that some people complain about. And like I said, these do go pretty deep into your ear canal, like way, way down in there. But because of that, they actually fit pretty well and they stay in my ear pretty well. Not having the wingtip is kind of still passable. And so, like I said, I went for a run with these, I rode my bike with these, and in both situations, they stayed in really well. The left one kind of worked its way out. That always happens to me, but they're definitely staying in better than the AirPods Pro, at least for my ears. That's super subjective, so everybody's different, but for me, they stay in better. But back to that other topic of what I should compare these to, I'm tempted to compare them to the AirPods Pro, but it kind of feels like the totally different operating systems just make those mutually exclusive. So maybe the Galaxy Buds Pro, would you guys want that? Anyway, the controls in these are a big thumbs up. Not only do we have the single, double, triple tap for normal playback controls, we also have tap and hold, which in the app you can control if that's going to be ANC/transparency switch or the voice assistant. And you can actually swipe forward and back on either earbud, and that will control your volume. I love that extra functionality. Good job, Google. Props to you for making that extra mile.
All right, so this is a microphone test in front of a busy road with a pretty strong breeze out here. So these Pixel Buds are supposed to have better microphones. Leave a comment and let me know if they actually are good, and if you can actually hear what I'm saying.
Now here's a video for reference without the buds. And now, the sound quality. Like I said before, I'm going to be very critical of these, partially because I've been listening to a lot of very premium earbuds lately, but also mostly because I kind of have to. These are $200, and for $200, there are a lot of really great earbuds out there, but even more importantly, there's great earbuds for $100, $130. It's really getting competitive, so these, to demand that high price, really need to deliver a lot. So, as far as the sound quality goes, there's plenty of big bass. Pretty tight, pretty punchy, a little bit sibilant, we'll talk about that in a second, but generally these are warm and powerful with lively sound that comes from that larger 11mm custom driver. I would like to equalize these a little bit, but I believe the EQ is coming soon. At least I didn't see it in the app, and I saw some things Google said that they will have an equalizer coming soon. I don't know. Now, I have a whole headphone testing playlist. If you guys want to check that out, it's on Spotify. So some of the songs on there, Too Afraid to Love You by the Black Keys, sounded really great because there's a really solid thumpy bass line. Like I said, these deliver a lot of bass, and because it's a simple stage, there's not a whole lot going on, you don't have any kind of congestion. That's kind of alluding to something I'll talk about in just a minute. Getting to Logic's album, Vinyl Days, the persistent snare drum beat was a little bit too forward, and that's what I was saying about the EQ. I wish I could equalize that to kind of pull that back a little bit, because it does start to eclipse some of the rest of the song, and I find that I have to turn the volume up to hear the rest of the song, but then the snare is too loud and it's just not comfortable. And then the third song I want to talk about is actually Showdown by Stick Figure. It's a warmer kind of reggae song, and so the sound with these earbuds is really nice. It's a warm, full sound with a lot of bass, and these do a really good job with that style of music. But I would say that, to summarize, kind of, these are much better than Google's last two iterations of the Pixel Buds, but definitely not as good as the Momentum True Wireless 3s from Sennheiser or the Beoplay EX from Bang & Olufsen. Why is that? Well, they lack some detail. And for $200, I would like to see more detail here. They lack detail on the high end, so really my beef here is with like the cymbals and the snare drums and other kind of details like that. Like if you have a lot of instruments playing at once, there's really not great instrument separation. The cymbals get a little bit mushy, and it's something that I would like to see improved. So in summary, $200, great bass, really lively sound, but I want more detail out of that. And before you give them a pass and say, oh, that's just because you're listening to lower quality codecs, which it's true, these don't have aptX, it's just SBC and AAC, that's not the whole story, because if I dial my Sennheisers back to just AAC and I have these on AAC, the Sennheisers are still a lot more detailed. So these kind of have the sort of opposite problem of the AirPods, where AirPods have a lot of detail and clarity, but they lack bass pretty badly. And then these have a pretty great bass, but they lack some of that high-end detail. And now moving on to the active noise cancellation. So these are pretty solid. They do a great job of blocking out a lot of household sounds like air conditioning and dishwasher and just other general sounds. And so as far as active noise cancellation goes, they get a general, I would say like a B-. They do a good job, but they're not going to compete with the Sony or Bose or AirPods Pro out there. All three of those are kind of like the king of the hill right now. And while these still do a great job, they're not as clean or as powerful as those. So Still good, but I wouldn't expect them to be the new king of active noise cancellation. But one little caveat was the wind. It wasn't windy outside, but I was riding an electric scooter, foreshadowing for a future video by the way, and I was only going like maybe 15 miles an hour, and I really heard the wind a lot through there. It was kind of amplifying it. Very annoying, and maybe that's something, because this is a Google like custom everything, they might be able to update that in the future and improve it with some firmware updates. Transparency mode similarly did a decent enough job. It was a little bit quiet, and so not quite at the level of the AirPods Pro or some other earbuds that, like for example, Sony's LinkBuds S do a really good job, but again, still passable. Now, as far as the app goes and compatibility, these can work with iPhones, which is good to know if you have an iPhone, but you can't get the app, which means you won't get updates and you won't be able to customize them. For anybody else, if you have an Android, it's already baked into the Pixels, but most other Androids, you just get the app and it's going to work really, really well. So for Androids, it works well. It's awesome. Now, the good with these, to summarize, they have multi-point connection. They have a great battery, they have really strong bass, and lots of fun Google features that make them very, very useful. But the bad with these, the sound could be more detailed. They don't have advanced codecs. The fit can be a little finicky, takes some getting used to, and there's no app for Apple. I don't know if that's bad for Android users, obviously, but if you're an Apple user, it's bad. So those are the Pixel Buds Pro. Happy to see Google making innovation. I think they do a lot right, and I think with a couple firmware updates, these can be a really solid recommendation. But at $200, I mean, leave a comment. What do you guys think?